Hey, what's up, guys? So this is election day predictions coming at you with our first prediction video for the 2022 U.S. Senate elections. So first, what we're going to talk about are our toss-up states, which we have 8 of them. Then we're going to talk about the Georgia runoff elections, which just occurred. Then we're going to talk about the way Democrats can maintain or even possibly gain seats. And then we're going to talk about the way the Republicans can um, flip the Senate. So, first, let's talk about why we have 8 toss ups. So, Arizona is a toss up. We're considering Iowa a toss up, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, the Georgia seat that's up for re election, we're considering that a toss up, and the state of Florida. Now, these are pretty simple toss ups, right? We have Arizona, which has been shifting more Democratic in the past elections, and it has 2 Democratic senators currently. So, we're putting that in the toss up because it's not impossible for a Republican to win the state. Next, Iowa. Well, why is Iowa categorized as a toss up if it's not normally categorized as a toss up? Well, in 2008 and 2012, Barack Obama won the state, right? And it's a predominantly Republican state. So we categorize that as a toss up because this year, I should say last year because it's 2021 now, but in last year's Senate elections, it was predicted that it would be a close race. It wasn't as close as they thought, but it was still within the margin of error. Wisconsin is a toss up. We're considering that a toss up because it's always a toss up in the presidential elections. It's a must win for the Republicans if they want to um, take the majority back in the Senate. Ohio, another must win, and we're going to see that later when we go to how the Republicans can gain the Senate. Pennsylvania, another must win. North Carolina is a toss up because it was extremely close last year. Again, I'm sorry. Georgia, 100% toss up. That's probably the closest toss up out of all the states. And Florida. So these are the normal toss ups usually in an election, especially presidential election. Uh, and we categorize them for the Senate election. So now let's talk about Georgia. So here we have Jon Ossoff and David Perdue, right? So here's one of the reasons why we categorized it as a toss-up. Even though he's not up for election in 2022, here's one of the reasons. So if you look here at the first round, this was on election day, David Perdue would have won if he got to 50%, but he didn't, which is why this seat went into a runoff election, even though there were only 2 candidates, right? So here is the map for the first round. These 2 counties, keep an eye out, 1, 2, these 2 right here are red. Now, I'm not from Georgia, so I don't know how big of a county they are or how much vote share comes out of there. We'd have to dig deeper. But all we could say is when we get to the runoff election, they go blue, and they go pretty solid blue. That's about 50, maybe even 60 to 70, but I think that's 50 to 60%. Whereas for the first round, it was 40 to 50% for David Perdue, both counties. And we even have some Democratic counties up here near Atlanta went even more blue, more people voted, right? So this is the regular seat here. So we can see why this is such a controversial state for the Democrats and for the Republicans. But if we go to the special election now, this is the one won. This is the one that was won by Raphael Warnock. Oh, that's a tongue twist. Here there were 6 candidates on election night. 6 candidates. So it was automatically going to go to a runoff. So if we look here, Warnock, oh, sorry about that. Warnock here has got 1.6 million votes, 32% of the votes. Loeffler, 1.2, right? So it wasn't that close. It was about 4 million votes, right? No, sorry, not 4 million, 400,000, excuse me. So if we look at the first round, it's obviously going to be different than the previous map because we have Doug Collins here, who also got 980,000 votes. And he got all these counties here. Look at all these counties he got. Yes, they're probably small counties, but that vote still matters in Georgia. Because in Georgia, on the runoff elections between Kelly Loeffler and Raphael Warnock, those small counties here, which have a small population, is what brought Kelly Loeffler so close to Raphael Warnock. It's what brought them so close. So these small counties are very important. And now if we look at the runoff results, we could see the counties are darker red or darker blue. And that's because the vote from Doug Collins went to Loeffler, and the vote from Deborah Jackson went to Warnock. So this state is so consequential in each election. Even if we look at the presidential election, we could see how close it was. Let's look. We can look here. Look. Not even 1%. This state is so important in almost every election from now and beyond because it has fallen into the toss-up category. Has fallen into the toss-up category. So now let's look at the predictions for the Democrats here. A way for the Democrats to expand their lead in the Senate, right? So we have all the normal states, California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Colorado, Illinois, New York, the Eastern Seaboard, right? Georgia, this seat right here, the big seat, which I'm going to change Republican just so you could see, that's Jon Ossoff's seat, right? So this is a prediction that Warnock, or if he has a primary challenger and that primary challenger wins, it's predicted that the Democrats are going to maintain that seat. So in order for the Democrats to expand their lead, they need Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Right now, this is the current Senate map, right? Well, not current Senate map, but, well, yeah, it is the current Senate map for the states that are up for election, I should say. Right? So we need Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Florida falls into the toss-up. And this is when we start talking about who's running, are they popular, and can they win? Right? Florida is also such a consequential state to win in every election because the voter share there is enormous, right? So right now we're going to keep it Republican because of the way they voted in the 2020 elections. It's still too far out to categorize it as Republican or Democrat just yet. Now this is where we get to the fun part. The Republicans. How do they want to expand their lead? Well, I'll show you. Right now, these are most likely the safe states. Arizona is most likely going to be safe because of the way people have been voting in the past elections, right? So we have safe California, safe Oregon, safe Washington, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, New York, Eastern Seaboard over here, John Ossoff seat. Now we get to Wisconsin. Right now, it currently has an incumbent Republican, so the chances of him winning there are pretty high, unless you just get blown out of the park by a Democrat who's liked much better than he is, right? So, in order for the Republicans to maintain their lead, they need to win Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and the Georgia seat, which is currently held by Raphael Warnock. Now, this is a small majority. Don't get me. I agree, it's a small majority. But a majority is better than a minority. This would be a disaster if the Democrats got Ohio and Pennsylvania and North Carolina and Georgia, right? They can expand their lead so many ways that the Republicans, as time goes on, the Republicans need to find a new way to enthuse, I don't even know if that's a word, um, you know, find a way to get the Republican Party to vote. Because it's going to become, I shouldn't say easier, but it's going to become much less of a project for the Democrats to get votes in certain states because of the large cities, right? So the must wins for the Republicans are Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. And as time goes on, obviously, we're going to talk about this more. Um, Later next week, or maybe in 2 weeks, we should have up a video, maybe the House elections, House of Representatives. That should be a fun one because there's so many districts there that we can get into. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.